There it is. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Good.
Wow, that was an awesome response. Try it one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Good.
Fantastic. Good to see you. Like the red. Red's looking good there. You're a big team, and that's awesome. You guys are not red. You're still part of the team. That's okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Sean Cruzen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Space Science Center here. Now, how many of you came here last year? Yeah, good to see you again. We talked about some awesome rocket stuff last year and showed you a piece of the space shuttle. You remember that?
Yeah.
Very cool. Now I'm about to introduce you to somebody who's actually going to fly in space. That's a very special guest to have here today. But before I do that, there's another very, very important person here in the building today, and it's somebody that we want you to meet. And I'm making sure he's in the room before I introduce him. So, before we introduce you to that very special guest, I want you to know something about yourselves. You are special guests too. And here's the important thing about you, and it's actually kind of cool that you're wearing red shirts for the most part, because this is true. It's your generation that could be the first astronauts to walk on the planet Mars, or to maybe even live on the planet Mars. And that's a very special thing. And if you work hard and study your science and math, you could be among that group that gets to put your footprint in the sandy dust of Mars. How awesome is that?
Amazing.
Well, give yourselves a round of applause then. That's pretty good. Now, folks, that doesn't just happen by yourself, or it doesn't just happen because America's a great place. There are people that have to fight for the opportunity for you to go to space, for NASA to even exist, and for the Space Science Center here in Columbus to have a place. And we have a great friend of the Space Science Center, of Columbus State University, of your school, a supporter of ours, who's one of those people that can make things happen. They're really good at talking with other people and working with other people and knowing how all of the business angles of things work. And that's a congressman. And today we have a very special congressman with us. He's a friend of the Space Science Center. His name is Congressman Sanford Bishop. And I'd like you to give a really, really big round of applause for Congressman Sanford Bishop.
Good morning. Oh, sounds like you're still sleeping. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that's better, that's better, that's better. It's a great day. It's an exciting day to be here, and I'm glad you're back at the Space Center. I see a lot of you have already been it before. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And I'd like to thank Columbus State University, the Coca-Cola Space Center, for allowing us to be here once again. I want to give my personal thanks to Columbus State University's president, Dr. Chris Markwood, who's here, to the provost, Tom Hackett, and to the other Columbus State administrators who are here with us. They do so much to support the mission of this Space Center that we all have the opportunity to enjoy. Let me thank you students for being here. You're so bright and so alert, so great, and we're expecting great things from you because you are our future. And of course, you are Wesley Heights, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hear it for Wesley Heights. We're all very fortunate to be here today to meet and greet and welcome a very, very special person, a real astronaut, Major McClain. For those of you, and I guess there are not very many here who are here for the first time, the Science Center around us does a wonderful job in bringing to life the wonders of our nation's space exploration, which is considered the final frontier. I can remember when I was a lot younger than I am now, when our nation landed the first man on the moon. I was actually training at Fort Benning, and we got the day off, and we got to watch it on television. It was so exciting, and I will remember that forever. But you in your lifetimes will be able to see some other great historic and significant space events. In fact, you'll probably even get to participate in it. Somebody here will. But I want to just encourage you to reach and be all that you can be and explore your dreams. I want to express my gratitude again to the state, school district, superintendent, and the Coca-Cola Museum for all that they do to make this experience possible. Now let me tell you a little bit about this special guest that we have here today. Major Ann McClain, United States Army. She was, not long ago, a student just like you. She grew up in Spokane, Washington, and she attended Gonzaga Preparatory School. And when she left there, guess where she went? She went to West Point, the United States Military Academy. And there she got a bachelor's degree in mechanical and aeronautical engineering. And then she was a Marshall Scholar, and she earned a Master of Science degree in aerospace engineering from the University of Bath in Bath, England. Then she got a Master of Science in International Relations from the University of Bristol in Bristol, England. Let me tell you about her. She is a member of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. She is a U.S. Navy Test Pilot School alumnus. She belongs to Women Military Aviators, the Association of Marshall Scholars, and of course, the United States Military Academy Association of Graduates. Now, she's a senior Army aviator. She's logged more than 2,000 miles, flight hours, in 20 different rotary and fixed-wing aircraft. She's a rated pilot, and she's an instructor pilot. She flies all kinds of military aircraft, including fighter planes. Now at NASA, she was selected in June of 2013 as one of 8 members of the 21st NASA astronaut class. Say that, astronaut.
Astronaut.
All right. Her astronaut candidate training included scientific and technical briefings, intensive instruction in International Space Station systems, extravehicular activity, robotics, physiological training, T-38 flight training, water and wilderness survival training. Boy, she went through a lot of training. She completed the astronaut candidate training in July of this year, just a few months ago, and she is now qualified for a future assignment as an astronaut in our space program. Let's hear it for Major Ann McClain. Give a special Columbus, Georgia, and Wesley Heights Norfolk. Let's hear it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Man, you guys are fired up. What is the dash slash for? Safety? Very good. Tell you what, if you like the doing safety stuff, NASA's got a place for you. Our safety office is huge. Can you imagine trying to be a safety officer with people that want to sit on top of giant rockets and go to space? It's a busy, busy office. So, well, good morning. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you guys a little bit about what it is that we do in training as an astronaut, how I got there, and I want to share with you guys a couple of lessons that I learned along the way that I think even if you don't want to be an astronaut, that you'll find helpful if you keep in mind. That's a picture of me doing spacewalk training. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I want you guys to think of some questions along the way, because I'm going to ask you for some at the end. All right, so that was me. So I know sometimes sitting in your seat, it's really hard to see that that you're actually going to be an adult one day, and you're going to, all the decisions that you make right now are going to lead you somewhere in your future, but I'm telling you that they are, and that you're not that far away from the time where you're going to have your dreams. Maybe your dream is to be a professional soccer player, maybe you want to play football, maybe you want to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or a teacher, and all of those things are great, and all of those things are within your grasp if you work really hard. This is me when I was 3. I don't look a day older now, do I? told my mom that I wanted to be an astronaut. Now, I don't know why I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 3, but what I will tell you is this, and this is very true, because I bet some of you have already told your friends and family what you want to be when you're older. And I'm here to tell you that you might be right if you listen. If you redecide to be that over and over again, what does that mean? The first, people always say, when did I decide to become an astronaut? I didn't decide when I was 3 and then all of a sudden I became an astronaut. I had to decide hundreds and thousands of times over and over and over again. I had to decide when I took harder classes in high school than maybe I thought I could pass. I had to decide when I decided to study extra hard for tests because I wanted to get better grades. I had to decide when some people around me were making some bad choices in high school. Some people used drugs. And I'm not going to say that. So my closest friend did. And there's a pressure there. But I said, you know what? I have hope. I have a vision of what I want to be when I'm older. And I'm going to decide not to, because I want to be an astronaut. And all those dreams that you have in your mind, you can get to as long as you decide to be that thing over and over again. If you say, I want to be a professional baseball player, then when you're in high school, you make those same decisions. No, I'm not going to do that thing that I know is wrong because I have something bigger for me. So I had to decide to be an astronaut about 100,000 times before it actually worked out. This is the quick path that I took. The Congressman mentioned it briefly, but from where you were sitting, you're kind of on this line right here, somewhere between there and college. I joined the Army, went to West Point, went over to overseas to England and got my graduate degree. Education is really important. And here's the thing about education that I want you guys to keep in mind is that, education is really a stepping stool. So what grade are you guys in right now? Fifth. All right. Did you guys start in 5th grade? Like, is this your first year in school? No, that'd be crazy, right? This year you're learning a little bit more than what you learned last year, right? And last year you learned a little bit more than what you learned the year before. Well, this kind of goes on and on and on. So when you hear somebody say they have a degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering, it kind of sounds a little complicated. It sounds a little hard, doesn't it? But guess what? Every class you take and every year you go to school, it just builds off the last one. So the jump that you took in between 4th and 5th grade is no different than the jump that I took from one year in high school to the next, or from one year in college to the next. You don't all of a sudden have to know a bunch of things that you don't know. It's a stepping stool, right? So if you want to be a doctor, you don't all of a sudden go, man, I don't know anything about that, I can't do that. You say, well, it's a step, every step you take, you get a little bit closer. So it's definitely attainable. I went and flew helicopters in the Army, so I lived just about an hour and a half south of here, and about 2 hours out of here, Dothan area. Then I became a test pilot, and in 2013 I was selected to be an astronaut. And those are the other 7 people that I was selected with. And here's something else I want you to keep in mind, and it's something that I call self-eliminating. A lot of people say to me, well, I wanted to be an astronaut. And I say, well, did you apply? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, well, how are you supposed to be an astronaut if you don't apply? Okay, 6,300 people applied to my astronaut class. But there is 10 times that who wanted to be in our class that never applied. What they did is they self-eliminated. They got a little bit of doubt in their mind, and they said, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. And so they didn't even apply. At your level, this would be like, hey, I want to be a baseball player, but my school baseball team is really good. And so I'm not even going to try out. Or maybe it's your softball team. You don't even try out. Even though it's something you want to do, you're scared to try out, so you don't do it. That's called self-eliminating. And I want you guys to never self-eliminate. Okay? I didn't know if I was going to be an astronaut, but what I did know is that I was going to make NASA tell me no. I was not going to tell me no. Okay? And I got a lot of signs along the way that maybe I shouldn't be an astronaut. I had classes that were, frankly, really difficult. I had things in my life that I didn't know if I could accomplish. I was applying to courses when I went to test pilot school. That's one of the hardest courses you can take. I didn't know if I was going to make it through. But I never told me no. And then with every step along the way, I made it. And you guys can too. I'm going to show you a little video now about what we do down at NASA, and then I'm going to tell you about some of the cool things that we get to do as astronauts and training to go to space. space? Yeah, me too. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about what we do to train to go to space and show you about some of the things that you just saw. So this is my class that was selected in 2013, and this is when we were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, we just arrived at our dream, right? We crossed the finish line, we became astronauts. But here's something interesting, probably about the dreams that you guys have in mind for yourself too, is a lot of times our dreams are actually more work than it was actually getting there. Okay, so pretty soon we felt a lot more like that. It was exhausting these last few years. So let me tell you about some of the cool stuff we got to train. So all of you guys, students, are under 15, right? Yep. Did you know that the entire time that you've been alive, we've had astronauts in space? The entire time, you've never lived a day in your life where there hasn't been astronauts in space. And when you compare that to your parents and your grandparents, that's pretty amazing. The congressman mentioned, he remembers when the first man stepped on the moon. Okay? We hadn't been to space before that, before the 60s. You know, and now your entire life there's been somebody up there. And this is where they've been. You guys know about the International Space Station? Okay? The International Space Station, if you put this on top of a football field, it's the same size. This is enormous. And we don't have any vehicle that can launch this space station up by itself. So a lot of people say, well, how does math relate to what we do in space? Well, let me tell you about it a little bit. So this is a space station, and you guys saw the front of the space shuttle out there in front, right? Okay, that's pretty huge, isn't it? You could fit a bunch of your family's cars in there, couldn't you? So this one portion right here fits in the back of the space shuttle. Look how big this is and how small that is. So each of these components of the space station were launched up either on a space shuttle or by itself on a rocket. And the very first time the space station was ever put together was in space. We never had it together on the ground. Okay? This is like sticking two Lego pieces together, except for if you're so much as a fingernail off, you can't pressurize the inside of the space station. So it's really important that the math works out. Okay? And here's something else interesting about this construction. This right here is called the Columbus module. This was built by the European Space Agency in Germany. Now, do you guys know about the metric system? Like millimeters and centimeters. That's what they use in Germany to measure. So when they built this, they use all their measurements in millimeters and centimeters. This is node 2. This was built in the United States, assembled in Louisiana, and launched from Florida. What do we like to measure in here in the United States? Inches, right? So this node was all built using inches and feet. So now you have one node that was built in the United States, built in inches and feet, connecting to another node built in Germany in millimeters and centimeters. And the first time you ever put it together is in space, and if it's even a fraction, the smallest fraction of that doesn't match up, it doesn't work. How amazing is that? And not only was it this connection that we had to get right, it was that one, and 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 that one. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of connections. This whole aft section